President Barack Obama wins a second term in a decisive election.
Campus authorities respond to a bomb threat at Georgia College.
And a student organization seeks to make a difference in a unique way. I'm Megan Rochester.
And I'm Molly Geisling, filling in for Kendall Thomason. Those stories and more today on GC360.
President Obama won another term Tuesday night in an election more one-sided than pundits had anticipated. Ohio sealed it for the president before midnight Eastern Time. Mr. Obama now has 303 electoral votes, well above the necessary 270. That does not include Florida, where the president has a slim lead, but the counting goes on.
Campus activities came to a halt last week when Georgia College authorities received a bomb threat.
Students at Georgia College had quite the scare last Thursday afternoon as a bomb threat was issued on campus. Students were told to leave campus through an emergency text message service offered by the school, as well as through email notification and through a loudspeaker, which could be heard across campus. Students were directed to a local church several blocks away from the school. They were told to stay there if they lived on campus until an all clear was given. Students in off-campus housing were told to go home.
It was kind of scary a little bit, but I feel better now that I'm away from the campus.
But everything was very orderly and calm, so that's really good. I'm proud of the faculty, staff, and students. We've all reacted properly. We're kind of waiting on word, but it was kind of ominous. I don't know if you heard the speaker announcement, so I'm really happy with public safety. That worked really well, too. I mean, it was loud enough and clear enough that we all evacuated, and it was amazing, the flow of people out of campus area, so it was really great.
Me and Jesse were at the gym, and then we were going downstairs and leaving, and then the intercom came on and said to leave. We had no idea what was going on.
I don't really know what's going on. I'm going to go over to my brother's girlfriend's house because she lives off campus, and there's no bomb there. So, yeah, hopefully everything's all right. Hopefully nothing serious is going on, but we'll see.
On Thursday, we received, Baldwin County 911 received a phone call that a person had a bomb on campus and did not designate what campus, where, anything like that. They gave us an hour deadline. We spoke with our executive team and decided to evacuate campus. So we evacuated campus after the time of detonation. We decided to search the buildings and search the buildings to see if there were any items of suspicion, and we did not find any suspicious packages. After that, we reopened campus. We recommend the students do two things. One, sign up for GC Alert. Students can do that by going to www.gcsu.edu/alert. The second is to create a buddy system. We recommend that each student have a friend to call and ensure that they got the message. That way we know that if for whatever reason a student's taken a shower or turned their phone off to study, that they could somehow get that information from a third party.
Police are issuing a $500 reward for information that leads to the arrest and conviction of the person responsible. For GC360, this is Jennifer Jensen.
Tragedy struck last month when an unidentified woman committed suicide in the Milledgeville Kroger parking lot. I had the opportunity to report the story. WMGT in Macon reports that a couple from Henry County stopped by Kroger on North Columbia Street last Saturday around 2 p.m. After the husband went inside, the 57-year-old woman came to this corner of the shopping center where she took her life. The family told Baldwin County's Chief Detective, Brad King, that the woman had been battling depression. She has not been identified to the public thus far. I sat down with Stephen Wilson from the Georgia College's Counseling Services to further discuss the subject of suicide and prevention.
There are a number of factors that actually place people at risk for suicide. The majority of suicides are associated with some type of mental illness, most commonly depression, but also some panic disorder or psychotic disorder or substance abuse. People who are at risk for immediately acting on suicide sometimes won't signal that very directly. Often they'll be pretty isolated, and so you might not have the opportunity to know when they're at immediate risk. But sometimes they will ask for help. And so my guidance that I would give to someone who is concerned about a friend or a neighbor or someone that they know is to take it seriously. It's better to overreact than to experience a death that needn't occur.
Suicide can be prevented. If you fear someone you know is showing these signs, or if you yourself want someone to talk to, call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 800-273-TALK. That's 800-273-8255. For this family and thousands of others dealing with loved ones lost due to suicide, our thoughts and prayers go out to you. Reporting for GC360, I'm Molly Geisling. No further details about the case have been released. We'll be right back with more top stories.
The Georgia College Children's Miracle Network always looks for exciting new ways to raise money for children's causes. Lizzie Miller brings us this report.
Georgia College Miracle is at it again with their next fundraiser for the kids. They are hosting their first ever For the Kids, By the Kids art exhibit at the Digital Bridges in downtown Milledgeville. This event benefits the Children's Hospital at the Medical Center of Central Georgia. The art made by these children is a great way for them to express themselves and get away from their regular routines consisting of hospitals, doctors, and medical tests.
I was admitted into the Children's Hospital my junior year of high school. I was having some intestinal problems, and I had a doctor who admitted me for further evaluation and tests and all that. I ended up having feeding tubes and PICC lines and steroids and all that good stuff, and I don't remember how long I was there, but I was in and out of what they call CHOPS, which is a Children's Hospital of outpatient procedures. But you go in and they take care of you that morning and prepare you for your procedure. You have your procedure, they make sure you're okay, and then they send you home. They take really, really good care of you, make sure you're comfortable, need anything and everything. I was also admitted for overnight stays on one of their floors. That was a really good experience. They have child life specialists that come around and offer movies and coloring books, and you get to visit and hang out, and they make staying in the hospital the most fun that it can be. It's one of the cool things about Georgia College Miracle is they go and they do these fundraisers. A couple of years ago when we had Dance Marathon, the money that was raised through Georgia College Miracle went to supplying for that room. So they were able to give the kids opportunities, coloring books, other things to play with, Play-Doh, like anything and everything you can think of, because for a lot of kids, that's their outlet while they're there. You know, that's what they need, something to get their mind off of how sick they really are.
This GC Miracle event helps put into perspective just how much this cause really means to the children. By showing all this artwork, it really helps put a face to the cause.
We're here with Georgia College Miracle, and we've put together an art show opening that features artwork from patients from the Children's Hospital. So we've been going up there the past few weeks, and we've been painting with the kids, and it's been a really good time. So now we're out here to show the community a little bit about what Georgia College Miracle does. We raise money for the Children's Hospital and Children's Miracle Network hospitals. We've raised over $100,000 since we've been on campus, so that's exciting. We're basically just fundraising all year until we have our big event, Dance Marathon, in February.
If you are interested in donating or volunteering for GC Miracle, visit their Facebook page, follow them on Twitter, or check out www.helpmakemiracles.org. For GC360, I'm Lizzie Miller.
Proposals is the latest production from the Georgia College Theater Department. Iona Holder, the director of the show, is here to tell us more. Thanks so much for joining us today, Iona.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, for starters, I want to know, and I'm sure everyone else wants to know too, is why you chose this play. Why did you choose to do Proposals?
Well, Proposals was written by Neil Simon, and he's a great American playwright. And we really like to have a variety within our season, and I felt like this was a good balance, considering we did The Birds earlier. We're doing I Love You, You're Perfect, Now Change next semester. So it's
good
different enough, right?
Awesome. Well, can you give us a little preview of what it's about? I know it opened last night, correct?
It did.
And we have 10 more shows left, I think.
Mm-hmm.
That's 10 or 11 more. So can you give us a little bit of plot summary?
Sure. It is the the beautiful, poignant story of a family in the Poconos, and it actually talks about how relationships change, how they grow and develop, and how that doesn't always work out the way you think it's going to.
Right.
And so it's a very relatable play where I feel like, audiences will say, wow, that's me, or that's my mom, or that's my dad, or I want to be that person.
Exactly.
I don't know. So.
Which is always good. But we need to go to the show to find out what else is in it.
Yeah. Oh, there's a lot of magical realism and some special surprises, but because it's in the black box, it's set very intimately. There are only 139 seats inside the room.
So you got to get your tickets now then, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, and I also understand that there was a dialect coach for it. What is the reason behind that?
Well, it's set in the Poconos.
Right.
And the family's from New York. And so, the actors I had were doing such a great job with the acting that I thought we would raise it to the next challenge, which is a dialect. And so they're not all doing the same dialect, which is the interesting aspect of it. And our dialect coach was in DC, so we did a lot of phone calls, and I didn't think that would work, and she was fantastic. Her name's Susan Linsky, and she made remarkable progress with them. So
great. Was it hard for some of the actors to learn the different?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was a huge challenge for some of them. Some of them swore up and down there. Right. They could not do a dialect, and yet they are. So,
Did they know they were having to do that before they auditioned?
Not at all. No, not even halfway through the process. Exactly. I mean, this was really just a couple of weeks ago. I like to spring surprises on my actors.
Right.
That was one of them.
How much time did you spend preparing for how much time do you spend before each play that you do?
4 to 6 weeks is the average, and we're about almost 6, but we had Halloween and a couple of other instances where our progress was sort of paused.
So did you, I forgot I was about to ask you, can you give us anything else more about the plot or anything?
It's one of those shows that you don't want to miss because, again, it's not like other shows and that the audience is around 3 sides of the stage, and you could literally sit on the stage inches away from actors, and you don't always have that opportunity. So it's one of those things that I really feel like, some people are like, oh, there's no way I want to sit down there, and you can of course sit 5 rows back, but our student designers that designed the set, and there's a 2-story house inside of the black box right now.
So a ton of work going into it.
Absolutely, but they've done a fantastic job, all of the student designers, and it's something that I think all students will be proud to see because they'll know that, wow, I can't believe we did that.
Exactly. How much are tickets again, and what's the?
For students, they're $5. And you can go to GCSUtickets.com to get tickets online ahead of time, which I do recommend. The show runs through the 18th we're dark on the 12th and 13th. 8 o'clock every night, 2 o'clock on Sundays, and it's a great show.
Well, everyone needs to get out and see it, that's for sure. Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
When we come back, we'll speak to political science professor Jerry Herbal about the 2012 presidential election. You don't want to miss it.
The presidential election was decided Tuesday night in an outcome that surprised those who predicted it would be much closer. Political science professor Jerry Herbal joins us now to help us make sense of it all. Welcome, Dr. Herbal.
Thank you, Megan. Great to be here.
And first thing I wanted to talk to you about, or ask you about, is how do you feel about the Georgia College community and its involvement with the election?
Well, we try every year to bring events to campus that are going to help students understand the issues of the election so as to make up their own minds about how they would like to vote. I think this year was no exception to that general practice over the past, and I think the students, probably those who did vote, walked into the voting booth with a good understanding of what the issues were and knowing what they wanted to, how they wanted to cast their vote and what it meant.
Great. Well, we got some commentary on students and their opinions for the election. Let's take a look.
Disappointed, but overall I think I knew who was going to come out ahead, and I just hope that these next 4 years go well.
I was surprised and relieved, actually. Like, when I started watching the election, the electoral votes seemed in favor of Romney, but then out of nowhere when Obama won Ohio, that was it. It was over.
And now we're back, so I wanted to ask you, why do you think it is that Obama had such a successful campaign?
Well, I think the main reason for the success of the Democrats overall this year was a better understanding of the changing nature of the electorate. In 2008, which was a historic election, African Americans and Hispanics accounted for 18% of the electorate. This year they accounted for 23% of the electorate. So that very high unprecedented number in 2008 actually increased in 2012. Democrats correctly read that change and Republicans did not. And I think President Obama tailored his message much more effectively to those elements of the electorate, and it gave him such an advantage that Romney was forced to have to win 2/3 of white voters in order to overcome that nearly 3-to-1 advantage over the minority voters that voted for President Obama. He nearly did, but the numbers are just too high to overcome. And so I think this is a real challenge for Republicans going forward to figure out how to adjust their message and tailor it and tailor their policies in a way that's going to appeal to those voters.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. Do you think that maybe the Republicans didn't pick the right candidate, or what about Romney's campaign was not shedding as positive a light as Obama's?
Well, I think Governor Romney was the best candidate that was on the slate of potential candidates this year on the Republican side. I mean, I think we would maybe have seen a different type of candidate if Republicans had a broader field to choose from. But if you'll recall, the Republican primary election this year was extremely hotly contested. And that contest, I think, in a sense, consumed so much time and money on the Republican side that Romney came out of that process a weakened candidate, in a sense not as prepared for the general election as he maybe would have been under normal conditions. So I think that led to the perception that Romney was a weaker candidate, when really I think it was just the fact that he had to, again, spend so much money and so much time through April locking up the nomination.
Right. So on the topic of financial, do you think that had a lot to do with the campaigns individually with Romney and Obama? Do you think Obama may have had more support financially and that helped with his election?
Not really. I mean, I think this year there was rough parity between the two parties in the amount of money they had to spend, mostly because of the incredible amount of money raised by these super PACs, which were allowed to spend campaign money up to essentially Election Day. So both sides essentially, through their own campaigns and through their super PACs, spent about $1 billion each. So roughly $2 billion expended in total on election activities. And I think there was no real advantage to one side or the other on that basis.
Okay, and also, I guess, what now is what we need to talk about. You know, the January 1st is coming up, and for those who know, the fiscal cliff is upon us. What do you think is going to happen with that?
Well, on the surface, there's been no real change. I mean, Democrats still control the Senate, Republicans still control the House of Representatives in roughly the same proportion, and President Obama is still president. However, I think there's a growing sense that there may be some kind of a mandate for President Obama to suggest tax increases that Republicans are going to agree with this time around that they did not agree with in 2011, the first time that the debt ceiling agreement was approached. And so I think we're likely to see an agreement made before the fiscal cliff happens. I think it's likely to be in a way that's going to be more favorable to Democrat interests than Republican interests. And this probably is the main change that we're going to notice immediately from the election, even though the numbers turn out to be pretty much the same as they had been.
Okay, and the friction that happened with John Boehner and President Obama, do you think that friction is still present, or they've worked out their issues? Because there was a plan that was on the table and then fell through, and then that kind of created the friction. So do you think that they've come to an agreement? I know that in MSNBC they told us that they spoke on the phone yesterday.
Right, and I think that says something right there. I mean, their relationship is famously icy. And so for them to have a phone conversation now becomes a news story. I think there's likely to not be much change in their personal feelings toward each other, but I think the calculation politically has changed. And so, again, as I said, I think the Republicans are more likely to agree to some things that they would not have agreed to a year ago or even 6 months ago.
What do you think about the not the tax cuts, but the cuts in funding for all of the departments? Do you think that there's going to be a lot of cuts or less than the fiscal cliff is claiming there will be?
The fiscal cliff, so-called fiscal cliff, is an agreement that was reached pursuant again to the extending the debt ceiling in 2011. It called for automatic, essentially across-the-board cuts in discretionary spending.
Right.
Those cuts will happen according to a process called sequestration. That process, I think, is going to be avoided because of the agreement that is likely to, again, to be reached now that wouldn't have been, I think, reached if, let's say, Romney had won. So I think because of the outcome of the election, that sequestration process will probably not happen, which probably also means that there will be less spending cuts as a result of this agreement than there would have been under a different outcome of the election. So given all of that, I think the probability is, and most economists are looking for relatively high federal budget deficits for the foreseeable future, and until there is real solid GDP growth, that situation is not going to change.
All right, well, great. That's been very insightful. Thank you so much for joining us
Thank
today.
you for having me.
And when we come back, we'll have sports and entertainment with Colin Shirley and Nicole Houston. And now for the latest in sports and entertainment, let's check in with Colin Shirley and Nicole Houston.
I appreciate it, Megan. Hi there, guys. It's good to see you again. I'm here with Nicole Houston to give you the update on all things sports. How are you doing today, Nikki?
I'm doing very well. How are you doing?
I'm doing excellent. It's great to be here back in the television station, here to give you guys everything sports. So, as per usual, let's start out with everything professional and work our way toward the local. First off, the Falcons. We are doing phenomenal, guys. We're 8-0, top of the league. We beat the Cowboys last week, which was fantastic for the fact that Tony Romo tried his best to get the ball down the field, but we wouldn't let him. We kept him stuck right down near the end zone, bringing in those touchdowns left and right. It was a pretty good game, and make sure to catch the next one as it comes up. Now, in other news, basketball started. You a fan of basketball, Nikki?
I am a huge basketball fan.
You can't go wrong. A little bit of hoops gets everybody pumped up.
I wish I could
and
play.
So I wish I could play too. It's not in my genes. And so basketball, we're actually 2-1, which is a good start to the season. We could be doing better, I agree, but we're not the Lakers. As they were last year, they were pretty good.
They were good, but this year they're off to a rough start. 0-3. They won 2 nights ago, but we'll see. We'll see how the season takes us.
We'll have to see how it goes. And for us Atlanta teams, it's really nice to get at least the ball rolling and start off strong.
Definitely.
And so on a more local level, UGA has started off pretty well, as we've seen through the season, but we beat Ole Miss. They're one of our enemies, and so it was a really intense, feudal game, but we came out 37-10, which was fantastic, and I'm sure that the big support base was really helpful in that. Now, I've never actually been to a UGA game. Have you?
Oh, I have.
Is it awesome?
It is a lot of fun. My first UGA game a few years ago, Georgia, Florida. I did it big my first time.
You picked a big ticket item.
I
Jeez,
did, and they won that
impressive.
year like they did this year. So, just keep the ball rolling. It was fun. It was a good time.
Absolutely. So if you guys ever get the chance, make sure to not only support Georgia College sports, but everything Georgia as well. So head out there. And so in Georgia College news, just a couple things. The basketball seasons are now underway, and so if you get the chance, I gave you the tour of Centennial. See if you can get out there and support the team. They're really fun. They're really loud. Buzzers going, and it's just a great time. Now, if you can tell, a little bit behind me a little earlier, there was the dodgeball tournament that went on at the Wellness Center just a couple days ago. A lot of fun. Fraternities and sororities came out there. Did you actually play?
I did not.
It was cool. I was actually there just to be able to see them throwing the balls and getting really excited, and it was a really, really fun time. And so now, Nikki, that's it, all I have for sports, and so I'd like to give it to you for entertainment. What have you got for us?
Thank you, Colin. A Georgia College student organization has taken a unique approach to raising money for charity. I spoke to members of Enactus to find out more. Members of the internationally known business organization Enactus have come together on the Georgia College campus, and it's all about the shoes.
Enactus is a service organization. It's centered around using the positive power of business to impact the world in a positive way. I actually got involved because I'm working with Dr. Fontenot as her grad assistant, and this is kind of she's our advisor. It's been really great. I know she's a marketing professor, so she's been really great getting basically all aspects of the club off the ground. We're kind of starting from the ground up, so she's been great helping us build members. She's been great helping us get startup funds. She's been great helping us with all the little details of running a club.
I spoke with president of the organization, Alvaro de la Torre, about the types of projects they have been working on.
I came out with this idea when I went back to Peru. I'm from Peru, so went back to Peru and I saw handmade shoes. And I thought it was a good idea to sell them here in the US. So I brought them here and I was selling them and but I realized that I couldn't do it myself because it was too much work to work on everything and making my own business. So I decided to take the project to one of the organizations on campus. I presented the project to them and they took it.
Treasurer Eduardo Burkhardt filled me in on all of the things the organization has been doing to raise funds.
Say we were to sell 20 shoes. Well, our main fundraiser is the Fall Line Farmers Market, and that's we sell fresh herbs there that we picked in the morning every Saturday. And then we sell those, and we've been able to get a fair amount of money for that to make our first order of shoes. We also did a lot of pre-orders of shoes, and we sold them for $35, and that gave us enough money to order that first shipment, as well as we also got some financial help from the school through a small loan, which we will have to pay back. And now that when we finally get the shoes, which should be arriving soon, we are now selling them at $40, just because there's been some more cost, and $40 is still a good price that people are willing to pay.
For more information about Enactus, visit www.enactus.org. And to become more involved on the Georgia College campus, go to the meetings on Tuesday afternoons at 4:30 p.m. in Atkinson Hall, room 1102.
That's all the time we have for this week. I'm Molly Geisling. Be sure to keep up with us on Facebook at facebook.com/GC360. You can also follow us on Twitter at GC360 News.
And don't forget, you can now find us on Instagram and Pinterest, as well as find the latest stories at www.gc360news.com. I'm Megan Rochester. We'll see you next week.